Hey, everybody. My name's John Kovach Jr. with Amplified Minds, founder of the Champion Circle. And today I wanted to talk to you about a few things in regards to your relationships. My biggest question right now is where in all of this, in the process of quarantine, COVID-19, stay-at-home orders, and all of that, have you been able to grow your relationships? And where have you had to adjust your relationships? I've got some examples, some stories, some exciting things I want to share with you during this hour. And I'm really, really excited and pumped to do so. And I really wanted to bring into these conversations some of the ideas, some of the resources, some of the tools that I'm finding very, very helpful. So I wanted to share that as a result of our conversations today. I also want to give some general feedback as well as ask some questions and get some involvement, right? I would love to know what everyone is wondering, what everyone is feeling, what everyone is thinking now, and what are some of the adjustments you've had to make. Having had great conversations with some of my friends, some partners, some members of the Champion Circle, and so forth, we've learned a lot about what people are going through right now. And for those people who are typically, you're outdoorsy, you're outgoing, you're very, very connected, you're used to being in a lot of what we might call in-person opportunities, I would just say that I've heard a lot of stories and I've seen a lot of things that people are having to adjust in their in their connections during this process of quarantine and so forth. As I share this with a bunch of other groups, I want you to jump in and say hello, say something nice, and say something really, really cool, or answer the question in the ticker below. All right, sharing it to the community here. Bada bing, bada boom, boom. We're good to go. And I've also created a invitational diagram to share with you. This is actually homework that we'll be giving out to a lot of our Champion Circle members, but this is something I wanted to show you and why we educate on this, okay? And so if you're having troubles growing your relationships with people amidst COVID-19 quarantine and stay-at-home orders, right? If you're having trouble growing your relationships, your friendships, your connections, and so forth, this is the perfect hour for you to tune in. This is the perfect opportunity for you to jump in and to have a conversation with me about your connections and about your relationships. First of all, I'm doing very, very well. I'm going to drink to that. And I just spilled on my lap. So now my pants and underwear is wet. And what I want to talk to you about is growth, right? Well, let's talk about growth and where you're finding growth. So my question to you is, how are you growing your relationships during COVID? Right? So that's my first question. Right? How are you growing your relationships during COVID-19? Let me tell you, I'll answer the question myself. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you're up to and what you're doing. But one of the things that I'm doing to grow my relationships is every morning I send about 10 or 15 text messages. And these are the people who I'm thinking of. These are people who I care about. These are people who I'm trying to grow my relationships with. And I send those. Marco Polo is a very, very fun app. Some like it, some don't. It's cool, whatever. And I like it because it actually reminds me every day to check in with at least 3 people. And I do more than 3, but I jump in the conversations and I jump in the calls with really, really great people. And I continue to have those conversations. And these are people who are friends, partners, business connections, as well as just distant peers, okay? Family members as well. And it's been a really, really great platform for me to be connected. Email is funny because while we should be on our emails a lot more, I've been on my email a lot less. If you agree with me on that, post that in the comments section and let me know, because I seriously agree that my email attentiveness has gone dramatically down. I haven't read emails in probably a week or two. So if you've been trying to reach me, I apologize. But reach out to me via text or phone call. All of that said, those have been two platforms that I've been able to stay connected with. Facebook has been one of the largest platforms where I've been able to stay connected. I'll be completely honest with you guys. I used to boycott Facebook. I used to think this is not the platform to do business. This is where everyone shares their cat memes and their videos, and this is not a place where there's civil interaction. But I've been proven wrong day after day, as you guys have been commenting, sharing, rallying behind each other, sharing relentless commitment to each other. It's been amazing. So what are the things that I highly encourage is that you reach out to people, right? Is that you reach out to people in an act to build those relationships and grow them. Some other ways that I've been able to grow relationships, and this has been kind of fun because as I've been growing my relationship with my family, amidst having to be distant, a lot of this I've been able to do virtually through competition. Some of our family members will get on a Skype or a Zoom call, and then they'll play virtual games together. They'll play various forms of if you've ever heard of Jackbox games or anything that you guys can do on a device. Okay. A lot of the advice that I'm hearing or seeing online is that people are saying, limit your time in front of screens, limit your time on technology, limit your time doing this, blah, 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 for your mental health state. And that is also valid and very true. But in a connection state, in a strategy behind how you build relationships, you need to use these tools rather than consume these tools. Okay. So rule number one is use the tools you have rather than consume the tools you have. The more time you spend flipping is the least amount of strategic and collaborative time spent. But the more time you spend typing or sharing or contributing or building, okay, creating is a way to build value. And that's exactly what you ought to be doing. Okay, so that's been one of the pieces of advice that I've been learning and sharing, is use the tools to help connect, right? That way it's not a burden on you. I wanted to share it's a little bit of a tangent, but it goes in line with what we're talking about. In order to spend more time with my wife, we've been tempted, okay, to spend a lot of time watching television shows and binge watching. And while binge watching is great and all, I don't get the value out of it that some other people do, right? Just by sitting in the same presence or the same room as other people and watching a show, and then also having, the laughter, the fun, the frights, the things behind those shows that you're watching or the movies that you're watching. That's all good for me, but there's no purpose behind it or strategy other than quality time. But there are better things than quality time, than watching a movie or a show together, right? And sometimes that's everyone's remedy. So I'm not saying that this is the one and only option, or my opinion is the most important, right? I just want you to know that there are other options out there. But one of the things that I would adjust and say is that when you can multitask in a way that's self-building, that's great. My wife and I started watching a show called Kim's Convenience. I lived in Asia, and this one's about this Korean family in Toronto that run a convenience store. And it's very, very slap-knee type humor. It's funny. It's collaborative. They're short, quick video episodes and so forth. But as we started watching this, I was trying to find ways to invest in us. And so one of the major industries that has been extremely, let's just say backlogged since quarantine began has been the puzzle industry. Okay, I know, super random, super weird. I promise there's a point to it, but bear with me. The puzzle industry, you guys, puzzle making, puzzle distribution, and puzzle creation has been so high that they are back ordered for months. Okay, they can't produce enough puzzles to send and create for people. Families are building puzzles. People are building puzzles together. And so there's kind of this underground puzzle trade business going on right now. My family's been in on it. It's been super fun. But as we've been kind of investing in time to stick together, we've been watching shows, spending that time doing, this quality time watching with each other, binge watching, while we've been building puzzles. And that has been fun because we're working together on something, because we're creating something. And there are virtual ways to do stuff like this too. Really, really incredible things that you can do so that you can create better relationships with people, both in person and outside. A lot of the stuff I talk about on this show have a lot to do with building your external relationships, the ones you don't have quick access to because you don't live with them, right? A lot of my talks, a lot of these conversations lead to building relationships outside of your home. Okay. So as I share these stories, as I share these thoughts, I want you guys to know that this is coming from the perspective of somebody who's solely focused on building your external relationships so that you can build your business relationships and grow. I want to take a second and say hello to Michael Drummond. He says, hi, Michael. It's so good to see you. Michael, I believe I saw a missed call from you last night. I will call you back. Appreciate you. Cody Breckenridge, hey, welcome. I appreciate you sharing this comment. He says, share a positive and helpful message and encourage engaging conversations on social media without arguing. Use the tools, just don't be a spectator. I love it. I love that too. And I'm glad, I really like the way you put it, Cody, because that's exactly what you should be doing. A lot of what we teach and preach in our Champion Circle, Amplified Minds events, and how we teach and connect and train people how to build relationships. Okay. Networking, the old way to network is out the door. The way we used to network, don't do what's normal. Okay. Do what's going to actually work. Build relationships that will lead to profits and prosperity. But the way that you do that is you invest in each other. And I absolutely love that you shared that message and reiterated that, because social media is a place to build incredible conversations. I was on an interview last week with Merchant Solution Services, aka Ryan Fritchie. And Ryan's a friend, a partner, a mentor, and an employer to me. And I love what Ryan's got going on. And Ryan, the merchant processing business has never been better. It's one of those industries that is supposedly thriving during quarantine. And people agree with this, and people disagree with this. But there's proof in the numbers and there's proof in the pudding. And what happened was, as we were having a really good conversation where we were encouraging our listeners to build relationships with everyone important around them, aka build a relationship with your banker, build a relationship with your landlord, build a relationship with your loan officer, build a relationship with your plumber, build a relationship with everyone who might influence and affect your life. Okay. Build a relationship with them, because one, we're all in front of our screens. Two, we're all stuck. So there's nothing better than to reach out with positivity. And then three, there's no better way to communicate. I know of a story, a tragic story, that the news said this. The news said that right now that landlords are being lenient on their rent because of COVID-19. So this family assumed that their landlord was abiding by that rules. Well, they watched CNN, which is a national broadcast, and it wasn't local news, right? And they didn't realize that their landlord was a small business owner, right? And they had different rules and laws and regulations than major apartment complexes do. Anyways, they decided not to pay rent, thinking, oh, landlords are good. The news told me that this was good. And then on social media, they saw more articles saying landlords are being forgiving. Okay. And then there's some government programs that you can apply for to pay for things. Okay. So this family was naive enough to believe what they saw. And then all of a sudden they were stuck in a scenario where they reached out to their landlord, and the landlord says, I'm sending you an eviction notice. You haven't paid rent in more than a month. And that was a bad move, because all these people needed to do was reach out to say, hey, we're struggling to pay rent and our expenses due to no job. Are you willing to work with us? And if not, how can we come to an agreement? But this family ended up having to go homeless amidst all of this stuff, right? And now some of you guys are thinking at home, oh, what a bad landlord. But no. That's not what this is about. This is about relationships. This is about the relationships you build, the ones you create, the ones you invest in. Start building relationships with the people that matter. So Cody, I appreciate you sharing that message. Don't use social media to argue. As I was finishing this conversation, we were having a great opportunity to build relationships with everyone that's important in your world, including your merchant processor. And some guy local here got on, and he started arguing, and he started saying that we were blind. And then we went on to say stuff like we weren't providing good information and that we were just trying to sell him stuff. And it was interesting. It was just like people jump onto social media just to argue. They say haters gonna hate. And I've always said that if people are hating, you must be doing something right. Okay. Because not everyone hates, right? Not everyone's hating right now. So yeah, I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Don't just be a spectator, be a creator. Let's talk about titles for a second. Would you rather be a spectator of a sport, or would you rather be the creator, the inventor, the contributor? Okay. The liaison, the middle person, the person creating the opportunity. I've always believed in the law of leverage. And the law of leverage is that if you can use your resources and the people around you in a positive direction, you can find prosperity in every area of your life. Isn't that the truth, right? Isn't that the truth? That you can use your resources around you to build opportunities and to grow. I'm in love with that concept, and I know that that's a really, really exceptional piece of advice from a lot of people. Okay, so use your resources, and let's be creators. Let's not be spectators, right? I'd rather be in the light, shining and contributing, than sitting back and reading and watching. Just me. It's my personal opinion. Maybe that's my personality. Cody also said, what? There are other things to do other than watch TV and do the Instagram death scroll? You're crazy. I appreciate that. That's good humor, and I love that comment. Yes, there is. There's more to do. And honestly, there's more people to invest in. Honestly, there have been so many cool things. I've had more time to read. I've had more time to listen. I've actually had a healthier lifestyle. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I've actually lost some weight, and I've lost weight in my face just by going on walks every day. Honestly, I'm not doing anything different other than my wife and I are in the middle of a Whole30 diet, just eliminating sugars and processed things in our life. But all in all, we've been living a little healthier lifestyle. So back to the puzzle story. We've been doing puzzles, and then our families have been trading puzzles under the black market. No, I'm just kidding. It's not really, but we've been making and sending and sharing puzzles with each other. And it's kind of become a game. Like we're building puzzles together in unison in our evenings when we're trying to stay quiet, but watch a little bit of TV and do a little bit of something different. And that's been a fun way. So think about this, and let me ask you the question. How do you do this puzzle concept? How do you use the puzzle concept with your connections? How do you create an ongoing relationship that's fun, collaborative, competitive, enjoyable, but it leads to more and more sharing and more creation between each other? You know, that's something that I want you to think about in all of this, right? It's so important to recognize the different resources, the different things you can do. Be creative and be essential. I talked about the guy who was arguing with us online, and while I'm sure he's just going through some hard times, I wanted to reach out to him and share with him my love and support and appreciation. He didn't appreciate what we were talking about. I felt like we were promoting something that was probably outshining what he was promoting. Therefore, I thought it was very, very interesting. But in an attempt to create relationships, I think that this is a very, very opportunistic place. Also, as we are April 21st, okay, less than 10 days in the month, my challenge to everyone is this is the perfect opportunity to get in front of the most important people, to build relationships. You've got 10 days before we hear from governors, before we hear from the State of the Union, before we hear from the president, before we start hearing from local government agencies on what the plan is moving forward. But let's just pretend for a minute. Let's just pretend that in 10 days, they're going to lift the stay-at-home orders and everyone's going to go back to school, back to work and everything. Now, I know that's not happening for a lot of people, but let's just pretend for a minute that is. If that were the case, and if that's what was happening, you've got 10 days to reach out to the most impressive, the most incredible relationships. You've got 10 days to find a mentor. You've got 10 days to find people who you've been dying to talk to. You've got 10 days to figure out how to reach and how to build relationships with the people who you've been dying to reach and build relationships with. That's what it's all about. Okay, so you got 10 days. You're on the clock. Go. That's my introduction. That's my challenge to you today, is reach out and build relationships. Find time to connect and do so with a vengeance. Do so with energy, enthusiasm, okay? An attitude of excitement and success. Because when you do that, you're now extending your reach, okay? So in the process of turning your relationships and your connections into profits, I advise you that you reach out. I'm reaching out to 12 people a day to build relationships with and to have time. With platforms like this where I can have people on a live interview and a podcast, okay, this is the perfect time to reach them. Why, you ask? Well, let me tell you. Because everybody's on their phones. Because everyone's in front of a device. Because everybody is killing time. And they're addicted. They're attracted to, they're magnetized to the intrigue, the information, the connection. Everybody wants a connection right now. I see it on TikTok. Everybody is so sad. Okay. Everyone is dying inside because they can't go outside, right? Everybody is dying inside because they can't spend time together. Everybody is dying for personal connection. And what does that say? What does that say? Because people are dying for personal connection. What if you, instead of being an observer or a participant, that you were a contributor, that you were a creator? Now, what if that were the case? What if that were you? I see nothing brighter and nothing more intelligent and nothing more exciting. Okay. Let's take a minute and take a quick break. I'm going to take a sip of water. Good old H2O. And I want to share a new idea with you. Okay. This is my thought and this is my idea. It's whiteboard time. I freaking love whiteboards. I'm going to clear this out. And I'm going to bring this up. Haha. Okay. All right. So you see my whiteboard here. Okay. And in my whiteboard, I'm talking about 4 areas. Now, do you like my perfect circles? Because I think my perfect circles are perfect. Now, let me just share with you this concept. In 4 areas of your life, there are 5 individuals or more that are extremely important to you. It's important that you create a strategy to build relationships with every single person in your life that matters to you. And as you build these relationships, drop my pen. As you build, actually it's my pointer, it's not my pen. As you build relationships with people, you need to have a strategy behind everything you do. And as you have a strategy behind everything you need to do, let me suggest a way to get you focused. Let me suggest a way to get you where you want to be, to build 6-figure connections, to have the engagement you need, to get to where you want to be with sales and so forth. Okay, resting this on my hand for a minute. Up here in the top, it's going to be your top left corner is the personal connections. You can also say that as like your most important people in your life. Okay, the most important people in your life, I'd write those people down. Okay, this could be a spouse, a child. This could be a parent figure, a cousin. But I'm going to get out of the family realm and I'm going to say like your absolute most best friend, your neighbor. Okay, these are people that you have probably see the most, the people who you spend the most time with. right? Think about those people, and I want you to write down 5 of them. Okay, if there's more, then there's more. Write 4, or write more if there's more. But I want you to start with 5. Okay, and as you write your 5, you're going to see that you're going to have to make some adjustments. Now, symmetrical to the personal section, I have added your professional connections, and there's a reason why. Because the truth is some of us are still selling. Some of us are still marketing at a transactional level. We're not building relationships with our clients. We're not building relationships with the people who matter most. The people that went homeless in the scenario that I shared earlier because they didn't build a relationship with their landlord and decided, oh, the news said it was okay that I don't pay my rent, so I'm not going to pay my rent. And then they got evicted during the middle of quarantine. How horrible, right? So start to think about who the most important professional relationships are in your life. The people in my life that I invest in at a professional level, 2 of them are my partner. No, 3 of them are my partners, and 2 are my clients. Okay. And it might be reversed. It might be reversed for you, but I want you guys to think about this. Now, there's a really cool principle that I'll teach you about this concept, and I'll show you why it's important. Okay. And I just realized that my circles weren't perfectly symmetrical, but they're supposed to be this beautiful little centerpiece there that I missed out on when I drew this because my perfect circles weren't in the right places. Okay. All right. So does that make sense? Write down 5 individuals from your personal, write down 5 individuals from your professional. When you do this, you'll begin to create the strategy necessary to develop relationships that actually matter, that actually lead to profits and prosperity. Okay, down here in the corner, let me turn this so you can see it. If you can't read this word says peers. Peers. Okay, your peers. Who amongst your peers? These are friends, family, neighbors, people. I know I've already said those before, but they're probably people who are within your connections that you don't reach out to regularly. Okay. These are people who you see on occasion. They might be your clients. They might be friends. They might be part of social circles. These might be people that are in your contacts that you haven't texted in months or even years. Okay. Peers, peers, peers. These are your peers. Reach out to 5 of your peers. But identify 5 who you want to be connected with. Identify 5 who matter. Identify 5 who you care most to reach out to and create relationships with. There's a reason behind all this. And then the last section is passive. Passive. This is where you dive into Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, your actual phone contacts, people who you haven't talked to, emails. Passive, but consider identifying 5 of the most important people in your passive group. This is where a lot of clients fall in because it's passive, right? You service them, but you don't have lunch. You create solutions for them, but you're not hanging out on the weekends. You sell them product or you make exchanges, but you're not necessarily carrying on more than a conversation. Okay. Passive people in your life, people who are observers, people who are creating these. Okay. Now, as I've seen and I've shown you this diagram, it's pretty simple. All of them are interconnected. You need to invest in a strategy that works for all of these people. But the question is how are you going to do it? Well, first of all, just by identifying these people, you're creating solutions. Okay. Second, as you reach out to them by your various forms of communication, whether it be text message, Marco Polo, FaceTime, Zoom, whatever it might be, you want to reach out to them and reach out to them regularly. But you want to know how regularly is each person. Now, I challenge you to make that plan strategic for each one of these groups. But the challenge truly is can you make the routine for these people the same for these people? Because the way you treat these people invests in relationships that are intimate, that are exciting, that are fun, that are engaging. But as you identify 5 people here in your professional realm, what if all of a sudden you're starting to hang out more with these people? And what if you start to hang out more with your peers? Okay, providing solutions and finding opportunities. And then you start finding more opportunities to serve and to hang out with your passive group as well. Now, I give you this idea and I give you this platform because I want you to know that as you identify the right people in the right circles for your life, you build relationships that will be ecstatic and will be exponentially powerful. Think about it. In one of the people in my peers group, I was building a relationship with cordially over time through posts, interactions, engagements online. And as I reached out to that person more regularly, we realized we had so much more in common that we had no idea we had communicated. Therefore, we started spending time collaborating, creating relationships, introducing each other to other people and other connections. Now, all of a sudden, that person's making more money than they were. I'm making more money than I was. And also, we are having a ball going out and hanging out together, right? We haven't hung out, but we've done virtual hangouts and stuff like that. Okay. And then all of a sudden, this is the kind of person who I want to spend my time doing virtual puzzles with, or playing games with, or spending time on the virtual world hanging out with. Eventually, I want to go spend time on the golf course with this person. Are you getting what I'm saying? Does this make sense? Or is this just a bunch of nonsense? Because to me, it is explicitly clear. To me, as a business owner, and I was just talking about this the other day. In my library, I have the E-Myth. Okay, this is the revisited copy. Okay, you've got Michael E. Gerber, right? There are structures and systems of a business that matter and that actually work. The reason why most small businesses or most entrepreneurs fail within the first few years or the first few months is because they don't have the systems and processes in place. Okay, getting what I'm saying here? Whew, I feel like I'm on a rant. That's what the energy is coming across like. I'm on a rant, you guys. But as you identify the systems and processes in your business, remember, to me, it is so clear and so precise that I have an investment strategy in my relationships. Let me tell you an unfortunate story. Anonymous, and I'm not going to talk about whether it's personal or not, but here's a story. As a group of individuals were working together in partnership, one individual started to invest in himself. I already disclosed their gender. Dang it. And in that relationship, they started tapping into shared relationships and benefiting off of them for himself for a profit. And that drove a wedge between the other relationships because all of the relationships were shared in good heart. But this person capitalized on the information that he had received and was using that information against others so that they could benefit and make a couple extra bucks. And that ended up driving a negative relationship, a negative wedge between this team. And this team fell apart. And this business fell apart. And all of that led to them not even communicating, them not even being in association, right? All of that led to a decrease in relationship. And now what I want to share with you is that on the positive end is that you should always be investing in your relationships, creating strategies, building relationships up. And the way you do that is you join social circles, connection groups. Okay. I advise, you see it right here, Champion Circle is the place to build relationships. And these 4 circles, we dive so deep into the 4 circles that we build them for you, essentially. It's a place that you have a strategy behind how you connect and who you connect with, and then how you build the prosperity and profits from those relationships. I mean, that's what we do. That's what we do. Okay, so shameless plug. That's Champion Circle. That's Amplified Minds. That's what we're doing. But in the end of the day, if you do not have a strategy, you're missing out on 90+% of what you, and I just made that up, okay? But you're missing out on a majority potential earning and creation for your business, okay? Remember, we're talking about creators and not consumers. Stop being a consumer and be a creator. Be a contributor. Be a leader. And you can lead your relationships. That's what we're talking about. Spent 40 minutes on this topic on growth and why it's so important to grow your relationships. Now, the next question I want to ask is, how have you adjusted your relationships during COVID-19? Here we go. How have you adjusted your relationships during COVID-19? Because some of you are growing, some of you are stagnant. But how are you adjusting? Right? I told you how our families are now doing puzzles and trading. I told you how we're doing collaborative games online. I mean, like in the form of video games. Like I've never thought my parents or my wife's parents would ever be involved in video games, but that's kind of how we're all connecting right now. So thank you to the video game world. We're all connecting over ideas, thoughts, and sharing culture and stuff like that. It's so hard. I know it's hard. A lot of my friends keep reaching out to me and saying, it is so hard right now because I just can't go outside and see people. It is so difficult. And I know that people are feeling this because the human body, the human connection was designed to connect, to build, to attract, to magnetize, to spend with other people. Introverts thought they were having a great time. And now introverts are like, why can't we go outside? Why can't we have a break from the monotony? Why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Okay. People who are like totally don't want to be around social groups, they're having stress too because they're surrounded by people stuck. And that's never fun. There's a freedom in doing what you do, to following your heart, to following what you do. And so what I would say is how are you adjusting? Okay. What are you doing to adjust? And I'd like to propose that you adjust knowing what's going to serve you now and what's going to serve you later. So as you adjust, what are you doing? What are you doing to adjust during that? If this is not a question or a concern or a conversation that anyone wants to have, we can move on because I've got a few announcements and a few things I'd like to get to share. But how are you adjusting? A friend of mine is launching a webinar or a web summit called Pivot. And I love that word, pivot, right? Something on its axis in order to create motion needs to pivot, right? Something to leverage, to create, to gain, to grow, to increase your angle, to increase your capacity. And you do that by pivoting, right? And so think about that. As you spend time pivoting, changing, adjusting, agility, agile, be strengthened by this experience. What are you doing? I've spent more time on the phones. I've been spending more time on these lives. I've been creating content and doing things that are going to hopefully earn me friends, earn me relationships. That's what I'm after. I appreciate Cody for chiming in here, for Michael Drummond for saying hello. And these are relationships that I want to continue to invest in, right? These are things that I want to focus on. There you go. I also want to bring up a conversation before I get to my Habitude Warrior announcement. And if you have any questions or thoughts or comments, please share it in the comments section. I would love to address those. And if it's striking enough, if you feel comfortable, I'd love to bring you up on the screen. Just holler and let me know. Okay. But what I want to talk about is the adjustments that I'm making. Okay. I found a solution to a bunch of our ventures in our companies, and I decided that I would go ahead and spend some time on the side in building that. With my international connections and my experience in business, I'm finding a lot of success in connecting people with resources to get things done at an affordable rate. Okay. Some would argue, why are you taking advantage of people during quarantine? No one wants to spend money. And that's what this guy said when he was arguing with us last week. But the truth is we've all got to adjust. We've all got to infiltrate the economic system. And we've got to create cash flow, because the more stagnant our cash is, the faster in decline our country goes. It's just the truth. It's basic economics, you guys. So as a result of that, I've created several ventures. The first one is the Champion Circle, where we're designing a strategic experience for anyone who wants to build the right relationships, right? And to have those relationships help them get paid. People using our advice, people doing what we say, are making money instantly, within days, within weeks, are increasing their revenues within months, and are fortifying and 10xing their profits. Okay, doing what we teach, we help entrepreneurs and various people raise over $20 million in transactions last year. So because of that, we kind of know what we're talking about and we know what we're doing to build great partnerships, build great relationships that are amazing, that don't self-destruct, that turn people into awesome professional opportunities. Okay. So I built a virtual assistant company based in the Philippines. The hopes and plans for this are to serve the general community looking to turn their videos and their broadcasts into ebooks and into incredible content that will drive them for years, right? To create solutions and funnels for them. This isn't a marketing or agency or a branding agency or anything. This is a virtual solution to being more effective on your live casts, on your videos, on your promotions, and so forth. People who know what they're doing online, this is a service for you, because that's all we want to work with. We don't want to work with people who are dabbling in it or trying to figure it out, right? We want to work with people who are serious, who want to grow their business and want to use the content structure that we know that works to work. And speaking of leverage, as we invest in our own companies, we also create longevity by providing the service to everyone else. So I wouldn't ever try to position or sell anything that I wouldn't use myself or that our various ventures wouldn't use. So there you go. All right. Another venture that I've been building is my Enduro Solutions package. Okay, and offering to incredible people and solutions the opportunity of a lifetime to secure monthly income and payments for 5 years. Okay, working in an industry that is booming and working in an industry that's going to help you adjust. Another thing that we do is we provide incredible connections to latent wealth strategies who have helped me and have advised me on how to turn my regular discretionary dollars into growth dollars before I pay taxes and before I pay anything, to turn everything into a place where I can find longevity and prosperity. Those are two really good words that I really like to use, but I use them with all of their meaning and intent. Longevity. Okay. Forward viewing, envisioning, okay, and projection. Prosperity. And how do you define prosperity? Well, I would define prosperity as interpretive, okay, happiness and joy through the resources and the connections you have. There you go. There's a great one. So there we go. All right, I've been talking for 50 minutes. It doesn't sound like adjustments are the topic we want to talk about. So if you're either vulnerable right now and you're not finding a lot of success in adjusting, then we can talk about something else. Let's spend the last 10 minutes here of our live hour talking about a few things coming up. By the way, if you have any questions about any of the ventures I just talked about, please send me a direct message. Today is probably the final day that we'll be doing these types of lives where the structure is open. The next few pieces is every day I'm going to have a framework and a invitation or an offer for you guys to check out and to get involved in. Also, just know that there are incredible opportunities on all ends and all spectrums for you to make a buck, for you to increase your profits and to build your relationships. But I share this all knowing that you will create value through your connections. I don't know why, but it's the one thing that makes so much more sense to me. When you apply for a job, you typically don't get the job if you're qualified for it because you don't know anyone at that business. But when you know someone, it's typically and more likely that you will get the job. Percentages grow dramatically when you know someone on the inside. The same thing happens in business. You're going to get the deal. You're going to get the contract. You're going to get everything you need when you have the right relationships. It is so blatantly clear to me that your relationships are the most important thing you invest in this lifetime. Not just to get paid, But being paid is part of it. It's part of the solution. It's part of the miracle. It's part of the incredible outcome that comes from it. And I know that you don't question that, but I wanted to say it for you naysayers, okay? Because relationships are everything. So is energy. But the energy you put into relationships, that's important. And speaking of relationships, I've spent a lot of time developing really great relationships. This man behind me right here, Habitude Warrior Influencers. Okay, this is a great magazine produced by a good friend, Brian Wright, and very, very cool individuals in this book. I have a page signed by all of the contributors and authors in this book. This is a special copy. I'm very, very blessed to have it, and it's been something that I've learned. But as you develop relationships with the most powerful people in your life, okay, going back to this activity here, going back to this, if you think about the most powerful people who you want to associate with, and you build a strategy behind all of this, and you start to have success, even with just one person in each circle, I can guarantee, I will call it out right now, that you will elevate your wealth, your self-worth, your connections, your income, your revenues, your structures. When you follow that process, everything changes, everything grows, and everything progresses. You weed out the old and you come in with the new. Life takes on a whole new meaning when you have people surrounding you who have nothing more but to help you win, have nothing more to do with their time, their resources, and everything that they're working on to help you win. That's what it's all about. I'm grateful for all my friends, and I'm grateful for the time I spend poaching friends is what I'll call it. Poaching is a bad term, a negative term, but I call it poaching because I'm literally out there. I'm fishing. I'm catching fish in streams, and I'm building relationships with these people. Finding ways, finding leverage, finding opportunities. And you want to know what I would say is the key to that success? It has nothing to do with who I am. Okay, it has nothing to do with my personality, how friendly and exciting I am. That all happens somewhere else. Those all have their very own benefits. But you know what's exciting the most? Is that when people invest in people who want to know about the others, okay? Instead of telling people about what you do, ask people about what they do. Instead of telling people about what your product is and what your service is, focus on the outcomes that are created by what they do or what they have or what their talents are. I got a few more minutes. Let me share with you some questions that I love using when developing relationships. The first question I'd like to ask is, what are you working towards? What is your vision? What are your ultimate dreams and what are your ultimate goals? Where does this that you're working on fall into your overall plan? How has this benefited people in your life? Why are you so good at this? Why are you so passionate about this? How do you create value? How have you seen the value of this product or this service or this thing influence other people, other markets, other industries? There you go. There's a list of few questions I love to ask. And now they're not rote, they're not scripted, right? These are questions I get used to asking over time. A lady who I know who wrote the book called The Eventual Millionaire, and she eventually became a millionaire in multiple digits, okay? She reached out on LinkedIn to hundreds of millionaire business owners, and she interviewed them. She asked a series of questions. She asked the right questions to give her the information she needed. But every interview put a nail in that relationship, put a nail in her network, and opened up her opportunities. Every millionaire she reached out to, she built a bigger, higher, more awesome net worth and network. And it led to her creating the Eventual Millionaire podcast, the show, the book, the program, the coaching materials, and her lifestyle and her friends. Judy Robinette, How to Be a Power Connector. I'm scanning my desk for that book. I actually am worried I must have gave it to somebody and I don't remember who I gave it to. There you go. But How to Be a Power Connector. Very, very impressive and incredible book. Judy Robinette teaches about what I teach about. Your social circles, right? And identifying how important and how great those people are. All right, this has been a live hour by John Kovach Jr., president of Amplified Minds and founder of the Champion Circle. I would also like to invite everybody to the Habitude Warrior Conference Global Virtual Summit. Okay, I'm going to post it in the comment section down below, but I want you guys to participate in it. It is free, free 99, free. Okay, and as you join the Habitude Warrior Conference, you're going to have the opportunity to hear from some of the most incredible speakers. I, myself, will be on screen interviewing and asking questions and liaisoning or co-emceeing with this particular group and show, and you'll get to see a lot of my face next to some incredible professionals. I would highly, highly suggest you sign up. I'm going to post it in the comments section here. Let me just pull up a list of some of the people coming to this event. Okay. Pulling it up right now. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Here's a list, a short list. Okay. Jim Cathcart, president of the NSA. Okay. Frank Shankwitz, founder of Make-A-Wish. Dr. Nito Cabin, I'm president of High Point University. Alex Stern, co-founder of Constant Contact. Bob Berg, author of the Go Giver series. Dennis Yu, chief executive officer of Blitz Metrics. Jill Lublin, branding and professional public relations. We've got Sharon Lecter, Outwitting the Devil and Rich Dad. Okay. Mark Victor Hansen, co-founder of Chicken Soup for the Soul, you guys. Ruben Gonzalez, four-time Olympian in the luge. Habitude Warrior Summit is going to be amazing. Those are just a few names of the people and a few of the names of our big surprise that we're doing. This is awesome. Come and build relationships. I told you earlier that you've got 10 days to capitalize and to build relationships with the most impressive people. I'm going to take a challenge right now, and I'm going to reach out to at least one person each day. That's 10 people who are going to change my life. That's it. Thank you for joining me on this hour. I appreciate you all. We'll be back tomorrow. I see that there's some information that I'll be posting in the comments section. I'd like to know, what else would you like to talk about? What would you like to share? What would you like to discuss? Because this is not getting old for me. This is actually pretty awesome. And I know that some people are finding a lot of value out of this, so I appreciate you. Thank you very much for joining me today. And just like that, it's another live hour.